This forum will be featuring 6 candidates who have filed for City Council. Vote for not more than 4. The 3 highest vote totals earn a 4-year term. The 4th highest vote total earns a 2-year term. There is a proposal on the ballot, which I will read to you now. Ballot proposals for Rochester. Summary of ballot question. This proposed ordinance, if adopted, would provide for 3 retail adult-use cannabis retail establishments to be allowed to operate in the city limits. Shall the proposal be adopted? Second proposal. Cannabis licensing charter amendment summary ballot question. This proposed charter amendment, if adopted, would establish an application process, selection criteria, licenses, and regulations for 3 adult-use retail cannabis establishments in the city. Shall the proposal be adopted? The League of Women Vote, the sponsor of this forum is the League of Women Voters, Oakland area. I am Christine Allen, a member of the League of Women Voters. I am not a resident of this district. The League of Women Voters is a trusted, national, nonpartisan political organization. Our members do the hands-on work to safeguard democracy. While we never endorse a candidate, we are directly involved in shaping the important issues that keep our community strong. As a League of Women Voters member, I have the opportunity to contribute in a leadership role, such as this one, that has great impact on local, state, and even national issues. If you are interested in learning about how you can make a similar impact, I would encourage you to visit our website, LWVOA.org. The League of Women Voters does not endorse any candidate or political party. Views expressed in this forum are those of the candidates, and the sponsors take no responsibility. The format for this forum has been established by the League of Women Voters. We ask that the audience remain silent during the forum. Please turn off all cell phones. We ask that candidates answer the question with their views only and not interrupt another candidate. The questions are asked to all candidates and do not single out any one candidate. This presentation is copyrighted 2023 by the League of Women Voters. All rights are reserved. All candidates will be answering questions submitted by the audience and screened for duplication and appropriateness by Judy Bateman. Pages Mike Allen and Karen DeGrindle will be circulating with paper and pencils for your questions. Please turn your questions into the pages. The format is as follows. All candidates will be given 1 minute for opening statements in alphabetical order. Closing statements will be 1 minute in reverse order. Candidates will have 1 minute to answer each question in rotation unless extended by me, the moderator. All candidates will be allowed equal time to answer questions. Our timer tonight is Pat Kish. The candidates for City Council are David Berlitic, did I say it? Almost close. Douglas Gould, J. Christian Hauser, Ann Peterson, Marilyn Trent. Also on the ballot is Debbie Jones, who is not with us tonight. I will read a statement at the end of the opening statements from Debbie Jones. We will begin the 1 minute opening statements with Mr. Berlitic.
Hello all, I am David Berlitic. My wife and I are longtime residents of the Rochester area. We raised our 3 daughters here who all graduated from Rochester Public Schools and attended Oakland University. We have deep ties to the community and we are proud residents of Rochester. I spent the last 25 years of my career as an account executive. As an account executive, my team and I co-located with our clients to deliver comprehensive IT services. I was responsible for delivery of services, relationship management, contract management, profitability of the account, and the morale and well-being of my team. I acquired many skills which I believe would be helpful as a city council member. The 3 tenets of my campaign are fiscal responsibility, reasonable economic growth, and something I call Keep It Rochester. I believe the city of Rochester may be the finest small town in America. We have great city services, great parks and trails, and many fine local businesses. My goal is to represent the people of Rochester and to protect and maintain this great city. I want to ensure that Rochester remains a great place to live and work now and for future generations.
Mr. Gould.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for holding this event. I'd like to thank my fellow candidates. It's an outstanding field of people and a privilege to be up here with them. I'd like to thank the citizens who are tuning in and who are here in the audience that took the time out of their evening to participate in this. And a special thanks to my wife, of course. Speaking of which, my wife and I live on 2nd Street. We've been here since 2012. She is a teacher for RCS School District. I have 2 wonderful daughters. One is in college, one is also local. I am a professor and department chair at the medical school out at Oakland University. I've been there since 2012, and I've been chair. I'm in my 7th year as chair there. Prior to getting on City Council, I am running for re-election. I was the OPC citizen representative for a period of time, a member of the Community Foundation of Rochester, and served as chair of the Compensation Committee. I'm also on the board of directors of the Neighborhood House. I'm proud to say I've knocked on 1,437 doors as of today, and I'm very excited to be here. Thank you very much for having me.
Mr. Hauser.
Good evening, Christian Hauser. Similarly, I'd also like to thank the League of Women Voters, the other candidates, and everyone who's watching and attending. I've lived in Rochester, my wife and I, for over 20 years. We have a wonderful son who's a sophomore in college. During the day, I'm an attorney. I specialize in construction law. I am also on the Planning Commission, a spot I've held since 2020, and I also am on the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority, which is probably one of the most proud things that I've done on behalf of the city. We've used it as an opportunity to clean up otherwise underutilized and non-used properties and turn them into areas that have prospered development. I'm running here today for City Council because I sincerely believe that as an opportunity to give back, to serve, and to benefit the community that I live in. Thank you.
Ms. Peterson.
Thank you. Well, good evening, and a big thank you to the League of Women Voters for holding this very important forum. My name is Ann Peterson, and I have had the honor and privilege of serving as your council person for our amazing community for the past 8 years. My journey in public service has been marked by a dedication to making our community stronger, more resilient, and a better place to call home. As a 35-year resident and small business owner, I have enjoyed living in our safe community with all of its incredible assets and raising my children here. As a real estate broker, I have been an ambassador for our community for 34-plus years by bringing people from all around the world to tours of our great city, and this is where they now call home. I want to continue the work I have been a part of to see Rochester into the future with more vibrancy while maintaining its character and finding balance with history. I have been a leader involved and committed to Rochester's future. It is an honor to serve you, and I humbly ask for your vote November 7th.
Ms. Trent.
Good. Yes, I currently serve on the Rochester City Council, but I have lived in this community for 33 years, and it has been my home. I've raised 2 wonderful daughters and built a thriving small business while immersing myself in the heart of this community. As a business owner, a resident, and dedicated volunteer, I've gained a deep understanding of our community and its inner workings. For instance, I've served on the board of directors of Downtown Development Authority for 15 years. I was also chairwoman of the Rochester Regional Chamber of Commerce as well. As a result, I have a vast network of people and resources that I can rely on for accurate information on many issues and policies that I have to vote on. Over the years, I have witnessed many transformations. I am determined to safeguard the essential aspects of the small town living and preserve the high quality of life that makes our community unique, from its efficient and effective police and its fire and safety services to its downtown charm, beautiful neighborhoods and parks, and to its beautiful green spaces. Thank you.
As noted, Debbie Jones could not make it tonight, but I will read her statement. My primary reason for running for Rochester City Council is to serve the community. I bought my first home downtown over 30 years ago and raised our family there. I have been canvassing and standing on porches and in yards hearing what people love about Rochester and about their concerns as well. I love hearing that so many others share my love and enthusiasm for preserving what we enjoy most about Rochester. What I am hearing from our neighbors has generally centered around zoning enforcement for new homes and renovations and potential businesses or developments in or near our neighborhoods. I support fair building code enforcement for new and renovated homes, as well as enforcement within our neighborhoods of properties that need better upkeep. I do not support cannabis stores on Main Street. I believe in the importance of protecting and expanding green spaces to preserve our city's walkability. I support the business downtown and want to help them be successful while also focusing on infrastructure. My goals include making sure to balance our needs as residents of Rochester with the need to attract businesses and allow for reasonable business development. Thank you, Debbie Jones. That concludes the opening statements. Now we'll begin the question segment of our forum. Most questions will have a 1-minute time limit. We'll begin with Mr. Berlitich. What is an issue in Rochester that needs special attention?
The dispensaries issue that is going to be on the ballot this fall. Yeah, I don't support it. I don't think that our infrastructure will support it, and I think that's the main issue. We have a fairly crowded Main Street already. It's been stated by even the folks that run these dispensaries that the traffic generated by one of these is maybe 500 cars per day for each of those. We don't need another 1,500 cars on Main Street. I don't think it will benefit the community. I think it's all transitory. The people that come to the stores and buy the stuff, I don't think they're going to be sticking around and supporting the businesses. So I don't think that it's the right thing for Rochester.
Mr. Gould.
Yeah, as I said, I've knocked on a lot of doors. This, as David has said, this is the primary issue on voters' minds right now. It was water and traffic. It is now these cannabis dispensaries. I do not support it. I've already voted. I voted no. For similar reasons, it's rumored, or not rumored, but estimated to have about 500 cars per day at these dispensaries. It's going to increase traffic to the point where we cannot tolerate it. It's going to cost us infrastructure costs, personnel costs. They are not folks that are going to necessarily stop and visit the restaurants and shops of our downtown area. I would have liked a level of transparency when these things were coming to town, why they didn't talk to us rather than just get the petition signed. And the last thing I'll say is I think this could radically change the complexion of our wonderful Main Street. This is a family-oriented Main Street. People come from all over with their children, and I think that would be detrimental to them. Thank you.
Mr. Hauser.
Sure. Had you asked me this question in April or May, I would have said, well, it's obviously future development, it's the school building, it's Solaronics, something like that. But the past several weeks have said that the main primary issue when I knock on doors and talk to residents is the dispensary matter. And to be perfectly clear, I'm a hard no. I don't care what people do in their private time. It's perfectly legal. But the last thing this city needs is 3 dispensaries in the areas that they have talked about. If there's a time down the road to have one, we can have that conversation. But everyone's focus right now ought to be a hard no on these, because if that passes, the city loses all ability to regulate where these stores are going to go. And being on the Planning Commission, that's a very important function, that when new developments come in, the Planning Commission has the opportunity to do a traffic analysis, to look at areas that where businesses might be. And I can tell you, based on what I've seen, it's an absolute hard no for me. Thank you.
Ms. Peterson.
Thank you. So I have stated at our council meeting last Monday that I was going to be voting no, and that is because it is still federally illegal, and I took an oath 8 years ago to that effect. However, I do agree with the people up here that all of us have the same concerns for our community. The community that we love so much, it is going to change the landscape of it, because those are what all the calls have been from neighboring communities, everybody letting me know how much it has changed their communities. So I would just hope that people will vote to maintain our city as it should be. And if there are any concerns or anything, that they do reach out to get the facts. Thank you.
Ms. Trent.
Yes, this is why I love this community, and as like I said, there's a vast network of people who are banded together to do a campaign that is filled with facts and getting the information out to our residents on what is actually happening. So yes, I'm against it, and there is a misconception of, is the people behind it for or against marijuana? Will marijuana be still legal in Rochester? It will be, but the high volume, but what we don't want is high traffic in these stores on Main Street. It will increase traffic by up to 1,500 cars daily. It's outside wealthy industries that are taking away local control, and a lot of cash mostly a cash business, and that causes a target for theft. But City Council will not be able to do anything if this ordinance passes, nor can they do anything about the charter. So it's time for voters to step up to the plate and vote no. So thank you very much.
Okay, given that the second question, I was going to give 2 minutes we'll go with another additional minute. But the question from the audience, because we've had several specifically on this issue, is please address the issue of cannabis in Rochester and comment on the ballot proposals. So it'll give you another minute to expound on what you might be thinking. And we will begin this question with Mr. Gold.
Yes, thank you. I was really surprised to learn some of the facts behind the marijuana industry in Michigan. I hadn't looked into it that much. I never dreamed that this would be at our doorstep. There's no way that our small community can fight multi-million-dollar corporations. By the time, as Ms. Trent said, by the time that this is actually here in our community, will be too late. City Council can't do anything about it. The traffic studies, the parking issues, these things will all be solvable problems. And we are really faced with, for me, it really comes down to, the costs associated with the traffic and infrastructure. But what is that going to do to the kids at the Dairy Queen, to the families that are going to eat at Cruz and Mears and coming in from out of town? I think it's going to make our community less attractive. I think it's going to make it less attractive for new businesses and for people coming in to visit. Thank you.
Mr. Hauser.
Thank you for the additional time, because this is a subject that warrants it. Last week, I spoke at City Council meeting, and I talked about how everyone has their own opinion. They're not entitled to their own set of facts. And I think what's really important here is when you pull the layer back and you start to see what's really going to happen to this city if these ordinances pass, I'm struggling to find any reason to justify why someone would pull that yes lever. Because to pass this vote would forever change the landscape of our neighborhoods. It would forever change the landscape of our downtown, and it would frankly change forever, detrimentally, the principal shopping district. And that's another thing that people don't understand sometimes, is that it's not just on Main Street, it's everywhere. It would go from the school building all the way to almost the Royal Park, up north, past the Dairy Queen, all the way down to First Street. It's an enormous area to have 3 marijuana dispensaries. And frankly, it's a tight spot, but it's a lot of ground to cover for 3 areas. And I just can't see any reason why this city needs to vote yes on that.
Ms. Peterson.
Thank you. So I'm going to speak about this because I do care about what happens here. We have had, I think it was very underhanded and devious of how this was played out, that signatures were given, had been gotten in the month of June, and nobody knew truly what they were signing. These are from the phone calls I've received. I think it's very deceptive as well that the survey that went out to the community or selective community members, it looked like it came from us, and that's what I think really caused a lot of people to think that City Council's the one who did everything. I think our infrastructure cannot handle it. We need, public safety is important here. That's been one of the major focus points for me as well. And I think that we need to stay focused on keeping this out of the community. And if it was to pass, the initiatives need to come through the city to make this a safer place. Otherwise, we have no control. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Trent?
Yes. The confusion was, how did this petition get on the ballot? Was it the city? It was not. I think it's been pretty clear that it was an outside company that hired people to go out, get a petition signed. It was all legal, and this is, it's a free country. They followed all the rules, and that's how it got on the ballot. But number two, now that it's on the ballot, people say, could City Council have done anything? No, that's how democracy works. Number three is the traffic. 1,500 cars is not just 1,500 cars going and having like dinner at one of these places is a restaurant. They're going in and out within maybe 5 or 10 minutes. So you're talking about high traffic volume in downtown Rochester that it cannot handle at all. And so, yeah, totally against it, and it's time for the residents to vote no and find out the facts. And that's how, and there's a lot of information out there now that is truthful and accurate.
Mr. Berlitich?
Well, I won't repeat what my colleagues have said. I agree with their points. I guess the only other angle that I can think of is I have been watching the Nextdoor app. There have been many discussions on the Nextdoor app about whether the dispensaries are good for the city or not for the city. And some of those have devolved into a discussion of pro-marijuana or against marijuana. And that's not the issue in my mind. But as far as my personal opinion, I'm not into legislating how people run their lives. So, you know, I've learned in my 62 years on this planet that if people want to do something, they'll figure out a way to do it. So for me, that's not the issue. It's the infrastructure and the traffic, and I just don't think it's a good thing for our city. So.
Thank you. Okay. The next question is very much in the same vein, and it is from our audience, so we wanted to make sure it was out here.
Is it a marijuana question?
Not quite.
Okay.
They're saying Proposal 1 is clear. Please be specific about your position on Proposal 2, yes or no. And this starts with Mr. Hauser.
Do you mind just reciting what Proposal 2 is specifically, so I understand the question, please?
Yes. This is the Cannabis Licensing Charter Amendment Summary Ballot Question. This proposed charter amendment, if adopted, would establish an application process, selection criteria, licenses, and regulations for 3 adult-use retail cannabis establishments in the city. Shall the proposal be adopted?
Okay, so the reason I don't like this proposal is because the city didn't write it. This is a function of an outside group coming in and gaming the system for their own benefit. The people who put this on the ballot, who wrote this proposal, have only themselves to self-support and its self-interest. So what you've done, if you pass this, you've essentially given the keys to the city to an outside group who are going to tell us, the city, hey, this is the ordinance that you're going to abide by, versus the elected officials up on this dais who are going to say, this is how we're going to do it. So you've essentially allowed someone else to come into your town and tell you how you're going to run the system. And I just have a very hard time with that, whether it's a marijuana issue, a zoning issue, or any other type of issue. So we need to decide what ordinances we're going to pass and what the language of those ordinances is, not some outside organization. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Peterson?
Thank you. And to the other points are great. I'm going to talk about the ordinance issues of how it comes about. For the past 8 years that I've been on council, we have never been faced with something like this where another outside entity is going to come in and tell us how to do things. Their best interest is not our interest here. So we need to make sure that that ordinance amendment does not pass, so we have an opportunity to safeguard our city in the future and for years to come from anything else like this. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Trent?
Yes, I can't add too much other than what Christian Hauser and Ann Peterson have said, except to reiterate, yes, the city didn't write it. We would give away complete local control to this outside company and these retail stores, and we will have to follow that ordinance, and it cannot be undone. And I find that, I find that really a bad policy and nothing that I would support, and those are for those reasons.
Thank you. Mr. Berlitich?
Yeah, so at the last city council meeting, there were some folks here that opposed the ordinances based on the fact that they don't feel they would be given a fair shot to open up stores here if that ordinance were to pass. And if I understand it correctly, I think that the qualifying is written in such a way that the party that submitted it really has the upper leg in making sure that they are the ones who get awarded the licenses. So it's just another way of kind of going around the city and gaming the system. So even if it were to pass, I think it would be a free enterprise thing that everyone would get an equal shot at this. It's not set up like that. It's rigged for the party that submitted it. So I don't support that. And of course, as we've all said here today, we don't support the dispensaries themselves. So.
Thank you. Mr. Gould?
Yes, thank you. I was recalling at a meeting earlier today, about 6 months ago, when an individual came and knocked on my door with a petition to bring cannabis to the city of Rochester. And his pitch was, sign this petition and take this decision out of city council's hands. And I kind of chuckled and I said, well, I am on city council. And good guy, fast thinker. He said, well, this would get you out of having to make a really tough decision at some point. And I said, well, that's why I'm on city council. I want to be involved in those and to make those decisions. So they knew what they were doing. I think maybe this would come up again sometime in the future. Who knows? But I'd like to see it a little bit more homegrown and organic from our community.
Thank you. The next question, also from the audience, on a different note. Position on pickleball courts in the city, and we'll begin with Ms. Peterson.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, let's see, just don't do it if you're doing anything else. No. No, I have to say, I know there are so many people, it's the new craze, everybody loves it. If we could find a place that it would suit everybody's concerns, I think then that is something we should look into. I think same thing with the tennis courts. I mean, we have the tennis courts here for those who want to play, and not everybody plays. And I think we should do that as well. I would really love it if, I do know that OPC is putting in some pickleball courts, so maybe that'll help as well. But we'll see what we can do in the future if we end up finding a space to put them.
Thank you. Ms. Trent?
Well, yes, I would be for pickleball and if we could find the land or the space to do it. I think that our parks, I think they service a lot of people, and I'd like to see them utilized for activities more. I founded the Rochester Pollinators to encourage people to restore our public lands with native plants and shrubs. And now that we have been doing that, I'd like to see also more activities, not just restoring the public lands with the native flora.
Mr. Berlitich?
Yeah, I am in the pickleball demographic, my friends tell me, so I have lots of friends who play. They play currently at the OPC, so there's courts available there. We have tennis courts out here. They're easily converted. The only caution I would say is I do have stayed at a resort in Florida where they have converted the tennis courts to pickleball courts, and for some reason, it's a lot noisier, pickleball. So you might have some instances where residents who are close to those courts might have a problem with the noise, so I think we have to be careful there. So maybe there's a spot where we can put the pickleball courts that won't cause, a noise or nuisance issue. But, of course, I support people getting out and exercising, and pickleball seems to be the current rage. So,
Thank you. Mr. Gould?
Yes, thank you for the question. I put this in the same category as some of our other recreational decisions that the city council has been involved in. For example, the approval of the skate park. It's been a long time coming, but you needed to find an appropriate place. Those people are still working on lining up the appropriate funding. I don't see why pickleball couldn't work the same way. Not a player myself, but I did ask the mayor his opinion on it, who is an avid tennis player and most definitely does not interested in having the tennis courts converted to them for exactly the same reason that Mr. Berlitich just said, and that they can be noisy, I guess. I haven't even heard it, but yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hauser?
Sure. I played pickleball for the first time last winter, and I thought it was fantastic. And so when I was at the OPC and I saw the courts, I was like, this is great, except there's a long line. There's a queue on Saturday mornings to get in. So like everyone else said, if there's a spot in town that facilitates a reasonable use and a reasonable place for the construction of pickleball courts and it fits the criteria, of course, anyone would want to make certain that the city has all the amenities available for the residents that they were interested in, and if we could use them responsibly, then absolutely 100% I'd be in favor of the pickleball courts.
Thank you. The next question will go to Ms. Trent. What is your position on residential or commercial growth?
Yes, that's one of my focus areas is on development, and I want it to be smart and weighed out economic growth with the with keeping the flavor of the downtown and following the zoning rules. I don't want overdevelopment. I don't want the heights too high. I want it to fit into the aesthetics of the town, and I also always worry about traffic. And what was the other one? Oh, for residential, I really want to make sure we don't end up with more and more Bigfoot houses. I want that to be taken a closer look at. I need to understand that more. And I will be talking to the planner on how they measure the size of these houses, because I'm getting a lot of complaints about several homes in particular. And so that's what I'll do.
Thank you. Mr. Berlitich?
Yes, prior to the dispensary issue, this was the thing that you heard about most when you were speaking with the residents is we have a quaint little city here. If we overbuild it and we cause traffic issues and such, we will have ruined a good thing. So I will say that for the last 6-8 months, I've been sitting in on the city council meeting and planning meetings, and I think the folks that man both of those have been doing a good job of making sure that the growth is being evaluated. Traffic studies have been done. So I think it's a smart thing for us to generate more foot traffic downtown to support the downtown businesses. And as far as the downtown business area goes, anything that does not change the structure and character of the downtown for business growth, I would be all for.
Thank you. Mr. Gould?
Yes, thank you. I've said many times, I think one of our top priorities is to keep our Main Street approachable and accessible for all of the citizens here in the city of Rochester, but also for the surrounding communities of Rochester Hills, Oakland Township, even Auburn Hills to an extent. I've enjoyed my service on the Principal Shopping District. I've been on there for a couple of years, and we work closely with the DDA, and I've been extremely impressed with the careful consideration that's given as businesses approach the community. We have 98% plus occupancy rate downtown. I think that's been maintained without changing the look or feel or approachability or accessibility of any of the downtown shops or spaces. And like I said, I'd like to keep that going and continue to work with those individuals, work closely with the DDA. Residential building, pretty much the same thing. Planning Commission does a wonderful job. I think I've yet to see a building that is not carefully considered before it's opened up and placed.
Thank you. Mr. Hauser?
This one hits home for me pretty well because I was vice chairman of planning and the chairperson of Brownfield and a licensed builder and a construction lawyer. That's what I do every single day of my life. There's a misconception that the Rochester Planning Commission rubber stamps and approves every new construction project that comes into town, and I can tell you that's absolutely not true. In fact, I would say we probably deny more developments that come in because we are relentless on making certain that the developments that does come in meets so many different criteria, from height to appearance to aesthetic to traffic, et cetera. So when a project does come into town, I can rest assured, or everyone can rest assured that it gets an enormous amount of attention, both from the Planning Commission and City Council. And we are committed to making sure that we don't become overdeveloped, that any growth is sustainable and smart, and that it fits with the overall feel of the neighborhoods and the town, and that, more importantly, we take everyone's view into consideration. The residents, the owners, and the city, those are all voices that need to be heard from the planning and development. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Peterson?
Yes, thank you. So as a real estate broker in the community for quite a few years now, I have, I'm going to do two things. One, talk about commercial first. I think we've done a very good job at, through the Planning Commission and our processes to make sure that, kind of went away for a second, to make sure that we do bring in some good development. But this is one of my priorities, and that is to bring in smart, profitable development, which is needed to sustain financial strength, create jobs, and support our local economy. You do have to find a balance there. And I think with working with administration and Planning Commission, we can do that with the developers as long as we set that forth. On the residential side, I've been working on the statewide housing plan with the governor's office, and that is something that I think residentially we need to look at some other items of how we do that. And one way is to start looking at and maybe go back to changing our setbacks back to where you have more green space and open space and being able to allow for a home that's more affordable as well. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question, we will begin with Mr. Berletich. How do you feel about residents submitting petitions because they feel they are not being heard? How do you plan to better listen to residential concerns?
I certainly have no issue with residents submitting petitions. I'm sad that they feel like they're not being heard. Like I say, I've attended city council meetings for the last 6-8 months, and there have been folks that have come through with their concerns. I think they have been fairly heard. But I will say there haven't been a lot of people that have come to the meetings. So there's a forum for it. I don't even know that it's necessary to submit a petition. The council seems very willing to listen to anyone who brings forward a concern. So I would encourage folks, if they have those, to bring them to that forum. It's an open forum, and that's the proper place to voice your concerns, and the proper people are there to listen and act on it, so.
Thank you. Mr. Gould?
Thank you. Petitions are part of democracy at work. This is a great way for us to learn what a good chunk, at least, or a good number of individuals care about in the community. There is an essential part of local government. I'm not aware of us not hearing petitions or paying attention to them, and we've been talking quite a bit about one of the petitions earlier, the first several questions today that was successful, regarding the pot dispensaries. We have an excellent opportunity every second and fourth Monday evening of every month for citizens to come and join us here. There's open dialogue. We're one of the only communities, to my knowledge, that still has a hybrid city council meeting. So you can even join in from the pleasure and comfort of your home if you have something you'd like to discuss. It doesn't need to be via a petition. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hauser?
Sure, similarly, I look at a petition as kind of like the last resort. That tells me that you have tried and exhausted all of the remedies available to you, and you've not gotten any action on them, so you have no other choice but to gather your neighbors and come to city council, or actually go to the ballot and try and get something changed. And similar to what Doug and David had said, is that every meeting, there's public comment. You can come here, you can go in there. In fact, we're another city that doesn't even have time limits. I've been in other cities where they have a clock running down that says you get 2 minutes to talk to the public, and then we're going to cut your mic off. You can go on and on and on, and we're going to listen to you. And frankly, if you don't do that and you still complain about issues, or I don't like this, I don't like that, then candidly, you've got no one else to blame but yourself, because you have so many available options to come here. You could call city administration, you could call Nick Banda, you could call any one of the city council people or planning, and they will get back to you. I field emails all the time. So if you're not happy with something, you need to come here and address the audience or address the city council, and that's the place where you start, not through a petition.
Thank you. Ms. Peterson?
Yes, thank you. So through the years, we've had a few people who have gotten signatures and brought them forward to us. A lot of it was regarding the parking issues downtown on some of the residential streets. And I would hope that in the future, we become a little more proactive in helping and listening to the residents instead of waiting for them to do that. When they do come in, maybe we take the initiative and try to set up something to collaborate to make some of these solutions accessible to everybody, to where everyone does feel heard, because sometimes things do go by, and unless you have, like it's always been said, unless there's people in the audience, we won't listen. And I never liked that comment being made. I think that we need to give everybody here the fair opportunity, and I think that is by being more proactive.
Thank you. Ms. Trent?
Yes. Petitions are perfectly legal. We don't want, as a council member, and a private citizen, I would not want that to happen. But I am very willing to listen to residents. I put on my platform, putting community first. I was very pleased to see the Elizabeth Park had a visioning session to listen to the community about what they would want there. The Parks Master Plan has a survey out, and as City Work has had that out for anyone who wants to give any comment on that. And on the front porch project, I was a proponent of having 2 focus groups created to listen to residents. But when a resident has a complaint, we can't always make a rule for that one resident. So we have to take into a greater, the greater good of the community. And I see that the city council does that. So, but there's public comment, and you can come in and speak, and they have. And I noticed, as Christian Hauser said, we don't have a time limit, and I have been at council meetings where you have like 5 minutes done. So, thank you.
Thank you. The next question. Residents currently pay a millage to the Regional Transit Authority for public transportation. How will you make sure residents of Rochester will be properly served by the tax money they are paying? And the question starts with Mr. Gould.
Thank you. This has been a big issue for a long time. We finally have it handled, I guess, to a degree, whether you're happy with it or not, in the form of a $68 million bit of funding. I think the city and the entire Oakland County needs to proceed strategically, and the city of Rochester needs to work closely with Eli Cooper, who is the new transportation czar for Oakland County, as far as what this is going to look like. A lot of the people I talk to think the public transportation means giant buses wheeling down Main Street. It's not at all the case. It could be. I don't know. That's what I mean about let's study it, let's look at it. There are options through the smart system called flex cars. I believe it's $2 a ride, works just like Uber, which could actually help to lead to a decrease in traffic. If we implement this correctly and use the money correctly, this could be a real boon for the community. Thank you.
Mr. Hauser.
Sure. I had to research this the other day because someone had sent me an email on my view, and it's my understanding it's going to be the bus line at 429, and it'll run from Somerset over to Oakland University. And I, like Doug, don't think it's going to be the traditional large bus that we see on many, many roads, but more like a shuttle bus or even like a smaller van that will take people through our town. And to be clear, I'm an enormous advocate of mass transit. I've been on mass transit throughout the world, countries I don't speak the language. I've never been on a bus in town here. And I think that's unfortunate because it provides people an opportunity for work. Okay, if there's a labor shortage, bring people into town, bring people in the city, or people from Rochester to get to OU to go to school. So to the extent that we can work with mass transit and it fits within our infrastructure in the city, 100% in favor of that.
Ms. Peterson.
Thank you. So I had the pleasure of using the Denver Metropolitan bus system in the past, and I have to say that's probably one of the best systems that I've ever been on, that could be reliable transportation for many people going to and from work, schools, et cetera. I would like, I know that it's kind of hard for us right now because most of this is controlled at the OPC level and not just directly here, but I am open to any of the suggestions coming here to see how we can work to make sure people do have transportation that is not going to tax the taxpayers anymore. So I'm open to any ideas that come forth. Thank you.
Ms. Trent.
Yes, a few things. Already, the OPC is getting $1 million extra per year, so we're already seeing a return on investment, and not every community got that. Number two, I did attend the Smart Mobility meeting at Oakland County last week to learn more and get a seat at the table when we talk about this. And I want our voices heard so we can discuss the routes and the stops. And they told me that there was October 10, there'll be a meeting with the city as city staff, and I plan on attending that because I am very interested in making this work. I am for public transit. I think that a lot of people are. I know a lot of people aren't, but I think that once they see how well it works, they will be for it as well.
Mr. Berlitich.
Yeah, in my travels around the United States and around the world, I've always been amazed at the major cities' public transportation systems. I've utilized them. They're effective. We don't have as comprehensive a public transportation systems here in the Detroit area. I do know from research I did, I think we're paying 0.9 mils into the coffers of the public transportation budget. So anything that we can do to help our citizens get to where they need to be, I think is a good thing. And whatever by means that needs to be done, whether it be small vehicles, individual rides, or the OPC buses, for instance, I think it's a good thing.
Thank you. The next question will begin with Mr. Hauser. As a council member, what would be your 3 top priorities? Explain why.
Okay, so my top 3 priorities would be, well, even before I'm elected office, if I'm fortunate enough to do so, would be to get everyone to vote no on these 2 proposals. Number 2 would be to really come up with a strategic plan on our master plan that we have in the city. The Planning Commission's doing that right now, but I think we could continue to have those discussions and to make certain that all future development that we have in the city, whether it's neighborhoods, commercial, or industrial, are really identified and strategically located to maximize what we've got here in the city. And number 3, and this is a personal project for me, is I would really like to see some enhancements in the municipal park next door. I live very close to that, and it's such a gem. It's such a beauty, and it's used by so many different people. But I really think that there's some opportunity there for some enhancements to increase some areas of that park that are a little bit underutilized to get the most out of it. So those would be my top 3.
Ms. Peterson?
Thank you. So from being on council from where I started, when I started to where our finances are today, we've been able to maintain the fiscal responsibility with having a 3-year budget, which we never had in the past. We also have a AAA bond rating, and that is something that I would want to make sure that we continue with because it dramatically reduces the cost to the taxpayer. Number 2 is an investment in our infrastructure. I feel is very critical, and we need to provide reliable water and electricity to our community by working with utility companies to help maintain the consistency, because both are essential to our community's residents and businesses' health and prosperity. And then safety to all is most important right now, whether walking, biking, or driving. We need to invest in our pedestrian safety measures that will allow all who live and visit peace of mind. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Trent?
Yes, I currently serve on the Budget Committee, and I am for keeping a balanced budget, as I know we all are, and also for keeping our AAA bond rating. I am also, number 2 is conservation and sustainability with balanced economic growth. I'm committed to preserving and enhancing our green spaces in Rochester, which are vital to our community. Many people move here because of the green space and our trails. I've been told that over and over. It provides a haven for relaxation, families and children play, and increases our home value and our land value. Responsible and smart development. I am basically for following our master plan. The city is growing. We only have so much space. We are densely populated, and we don't have much land left. I am for development that doesn't overwhelm the town's basic aesthetic and cause an increase in traffic congestion. Though I don't have a magic wand about traffic, but I certainly want to do everything I can to not make it worse if possible.
Mr. Belichick?
Yeah, I'm impressed that the city has a balanced budget and a 3-year budgeting process. And one of my tenets is fiscal responsibility and accountability. That's one of my strengths, one thing that I acquired in my business dealings. But it takes diligence to watch that. So that's one of my tenets. The other is focusing on the growth. Once again, I think the city and the planning committee do a fair job now of making sure that any additional growth that is proposed is studied carefully for the effect it will have on the city. That's one of my tenets, is to continue that process. And then first and foremost for me, I just think of Keep It Rochester as my phrase that I say for protect our police, our fire department, our parks and trails, promote our local businesses, and do whatever it takes to make Rochester a great place to live now and for future generations.
Thank you. Mr. Gould?
Yes, thank you. My 3, I have a lot, but I'll go with these 3. The first is to continue to support local businesses, to keep Main Street healthy and approachable. I'll give you an example of that. When it came time to decide whether to leave up the pandemic platforms for the businesses for outdoor dining and things or to take them down, the council, and I fully supported it, decided to allow the businesses to keep them up, to continue to attract customers, even though we took a very small financial hit on that. I think, as Ms. Peterson said, we need to continue to invest in our infrastructure. In particular, I hear all the time canvassing about the water system on the east side. We've invested a lot. It's not sexy, but if you don't invest in your infrastructure, other things will crumble around it. We've been putting a lot of effort into the east side. And the last one is, I'd like to see our city continue to leverage adjacent communities, and that would include Oakland University, Oakland Township. We have a lot of benefit from sharing resources. We've formed a sister city committee, and I think we're heading in that direction. Thank you.
The next question to Ms. Peterson. What community activities have you been involved in?
Well, let's see. So 12 years ago, when I first got involved with the city, I sat on the sat on the Residential Property Task Force, which then brought back the City Beautiful Commission, which we hadn't had in a long time. I've sat for the 4 years on the Rochester Planning Commission. I was the Rochester Area Recreational Authority Liaison, the Downtown Development Authority Liaison, sat as the Historical Commission Liaison, sat on the Budget Committee, Finance Committee, Sustainability Committee, part of the master plan, Citizen Master Plan Program, and also attended both city, citizen fire and police academies. And also, I sit on the Michigan Municipal League Land Use and Public Policy Committee and have been on that for a while. And I'll just quit at that.
Okay.
That goes up and you just want to quit talking.
I know.
I know, just like.
I believe, my company believes in corporate social responsibility, and that is what it was founded upon. So my philosophy is to give back. So I am currently a member of the following Rochester boards and committees and nonprofit organizations. I'm a member, obviously, of City Council, but I am also a member of the Rochester Budget Committee, the chairperson and founder of the Rochester Pollinators, member of the Stony Creek chapter of the Daughters of American Revolution, and I'm conservation chair for that. I am on the North Oakland Wild Ones PR and Marketing Chair, Rochester Development Authority Subcommittee Front Porch Town Square Project, Rochester Downtown Development Authority Liaison, Rochester Area Youth Assistance Board Member, and Sister City Committee Board Member. My past appointments, as I had said, is a board chairperson and board member of the Rochester Regional Chamber of Commerce, the board member of Downtown Development Authority, board member of Rochester City Beautiful Commission, and for that, I got City of Rochester Good Neighbor Award for making a difference in our Rochester community and Sunrise Pinnacle Awards last year for Board Member of the Year.
Mr. Berlitich.
Wow.
That wasn't all.
I have the smallest resume of anyone sitting on this dais, I can guarantee you that. I was appointed to serve on the OPEB committee, the pension board. I have made it clear to the mayor and the city manager that my services are available for anything and all things that need to be done for the city. I haven't been involved as much as these other folks, but, you know, I'm here to, as a consumer, I know that I love the city of Rochester. I raise my children here. I enjoy our parks and our green spaces and such, and I want to do anything I can to preserve that. So hopefully I'll get more of a chance to contribute here in the future.
Thank you. Mr. Gould?
Yeah, thank you. I think I mentioned some of the committees or commissions and boards I serve on, along with, in conjunction with my city council position. I am on OPEB board with David, the cemetery board, the principal shopping district, Sister City, the Memorial Day Parade Committee, the City Beautiful Commission, et cetera, et cetera. I've done a ton of stuff for the RCS events. Both my daughters went to RCS schools, so I've been involved in band activities and fundraisers there. I've been to many a Friday night football game. I'm also the board of directors of the Neighborhood House. Outside of the city, I was elected to the governance committee there and have been recently appointed to the ethics committee. Just this last month, I participated in the RCS color run. Did not do well. The Scare Away Hunger race is coming up this weekend. I'm working for the Neighborhood House on that. And I took a tour of the Rochester water system with my fellow board members. Thank you.
Mr. Hauser.
Sure. Over the past 20 years, I've been involved with lots of different entities and groups here in the city, starting off with helping to develop the sustainability checklist that's used by all developers when they come into town. As I mentioned before, I'm chairperson of our Brownfield Authority and vice chairperson of our Planning Commission. I'm a former member of the Downtown Development Authority, and as much as I love that, my appointment was right at the pandemic, and then Planning Commission spot open, so they transferred me over there. I'm good friends with Alan Smith, and I've helped Alan out with some fundraising efforts as they try and do some improvements over at the community house. But most importantly, I've worked as an election inspector at the community house for my precinct for the past few elections, and I have to tell you, it's probably the most rewarding thing that I've done for the city, because it gives me an opportunity to make sure that our elections are fair, accessible, and open to everyone who wants to vote in the city. If you don't vote, it's because you decided not to, not because someone said that you couldn't. So that's what I'm probably most thankful for, that opportunity.
Thank you very much. The next question, we'll start with Ms. Trent. I've taken two questions from the audience that are related, so that let me read both of them together. As a city council member, will you proactively zone for all legal business uses within the city limits? And if the ballot proposals are approved, will you commit to work constructively with those legal businesses? And Ms. Trent, we'll
The
start with you.
first one, I'm not clear what that means. Zoning, what, I'm sorry.
It's asking if you will proactively zone for all legal businesses uses within the city.
All legal business, that would be, yeah, that's a yes. I would not want to do it illegally, for sure, yeah. And then the second is,
If the ballot proposals are approved, will you commit to work constructively with those legal businesses?
well, I'm a very collaborative person, and, we make the best, I make the best out of even things that I don't like. So that's how you solve problems.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Berlitich?
Yeah, if it's legal, it's legal. So, I think that will be our responsibility to support that. And if the dispensaries proposal passes, the people have spoken, and that's what they want here. So I think it's our job to work with those entities that are going to be establishing those businesses and make that the best possible experience for the citizens of Rochester.
Thank you. Mr. Gould?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, as far as zoning proactively, I think to encourage responsible growth, I think that's our responsibility. I think that's one of our primary duties. And the best way to do that is to determine what do the citizens of the community want. So we always have, not always, but we typically would hold an open forum for discussion to get community input on pretty much any zoning issue. Planning Commission, of course, would take the first swipe at that. So yeah, we need to listen to the community and see what they want as far as how the community is going to change, how it's going to develop, how it's going to evolve over time. And you bet, if somebody has a legal business here in town, it's the city council's obligation to make sure that it's following all the guidelines, following all the rules, and that it's going to work as best as we can make it work for our citizens. Thank you.
Mr. Hauser?
Sure, these are not mutually exclusive concepts. You can have a personal dislike for something or don't think it's a good idea, but if it's passed, if that's what the voters want, then you have a legal obligation. As a lawyer, as a city council person, as a government worker, you have to check your personal views aside and do what you have to do under the law. And if you can't, then you shouldn't be sitting up here. So if that's the law, if they are legally licensed business in town, you treat them just like any other business in town, and you don't treat them any differently because it's just not how it works. So if you're a grown-up, if you're an adult, if they vote yes, then they'll get the fair shake just like anyone else would in this town. That's right.
Thank you. Ms. Peterson?
Yes, thank you. And yes, as far as the zoning, yes, if everything comes through the election that way, then yes, we will be working to make sure that we have appropriate zoning and work with them to do so. I would like really to make sure that we have the voices of a lot of people at the table, though, to make sure that good government is used in making those decisions, because this is an avenue we haven't been in, and I think there's going to be a lot of questions, and I would hope that we don't do anything very quickly, and we take our time to make sure that we address every concern that there may be that we may have overlooked. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the time for questions. The candidates will now be given 1 minute to make a closing statement in the reverse order of opening statements, beginning with Ms. Trent.
Yes, I would like to thank the League of Women Voters for making this event possible. I didn't get to do that. As a business owner, I bring unique problem-solving skills to the table. Problem-solving is my superpower. I've owned over 3 decades of running a successful business. I'm passionate about research, asking tough questions, collaborating, and making informed decisions while keeping the community's best interest at heart. As a city council member, I want to use my skills and experience to serve the city and its people. Bottom line, I believe good governance involves learning about the issues and asking good questions to arrive at the best decisions for using public resources. I know that with my vast community service and my business knowledge, I will continue to serve the city in that capacity, and I hope I'm voted in and get people's vote. Thank you very much.
Ms. Peterson.
Yes, thank you. So today I seek your vote once again, not only to continue this journey, but to build an even better future for our community. Together we can address the challenges ahead, seize new opportunities, and ensure our community thrives for generations to come. I want to thank you for your trust and support, and a vote for Ann Peterson would be a vote to keep me committed to Rochester's future for you. Thank you.
Mr. Hauser.
Sure. We're all here for the same reasons. It's because we love the city. We feel like we can contribute to continuing the good work that's been done to date. None of us are in this for the money or the lucrative book deal that comes when you get out of office. We're here because we genuinely think that we can do something better for the city that we all live in. And I like to think of myself as practical, and I'm balanced, and I'm pragmatic, and I like to give everyone an opportunity to say what they need to say. And I'm confident that my experience in Brownfield or Planning Commission or on DDA or doing other things throughout the city gives me an opportunity to take those tools, to take that experience and sit up here with some really great people and make some decisions that I think are going to put the city in the best possible position to succeed for not only today, tomorrow, but for several years to come. So thank you very much.
Mr. Gould.
Yes, thank you. And thank you again to everybody that took the time to come out here. Could have watched this from home, so I appreciate you being here in the audience. And thank you to everybody who's watching this at home. That's a great way to get involved in your community, find out who you're going to choose to elect you. I hope you may consider voting for me. I'm very excited to stay involved on City Council and continue to serve this community. I've loved it. I love campaigning. I love knocking on the doors. I love talking to people. I get yelled at occasionally. That's all right. That's all part of the experience and part of the fun. If I knock on your door, please open it. I'm happy to chat about whatever's on your mind. But I really love the city. I love the direction the city is going. I want to continue helping it get there to serve all of the people in this wonderful town. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Berlich.
Thank you to the League of Women Voters and to all the people who came out and those who submitted questions. I think it's fantastic that there are people interested in what's going on in the city and want to get the opinions of the folks that are running for these offices. Clearly, I don't have the resume of these other folks up here, but what I do have is business experience. And in my years of being an account executive, one of my main jobs was I was the focus between the client and my home company. And in that role, my job was to listen to everyone's opinions, work on finding solutions that will benefit each party, and do a lot of arbitration. So I was develop skills to be a good listener, a good compromiser, and I think that's what we need here in the city. So I would appreciate your vote on the 7th, and one thing you can count on from me is I'll always do and vote for what is best for the city of Rochester.
Thank you. The League of Women Voters would like to thank the audience, the candidates, and CMN TV for making this forum possible. This presentation is copyrighted 2023 by the League of Women Voters. All rights are reserved. Any recording of this forum can only be shown in its entirety. Rebroadcast times of this forum will be on the LWV website and YouTube. The League of Women Voters is funded by contributions from concerned businesses and citizens. Our membership is open to men and women over the age of 16. Remember to vote on November 7th, and just a reminder, there are 6 candidates, vote for 4. Democracy is not a spectator sport. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
You guys are good. Yeah, very good.
Good job.